Hello there. What is going on, everybody, today? We're going to be ranking the Star Wars films according to the names on what makes sense versus what doesn't make sense. So I want to caveat this with I'm excluding non-Skywalker Saga films from this countdown in that, like Solo is obviously about Solo. There's really no obscurity to that. I want this to be focused on the Skywalker Saga, especially with May the 4th coming up. And all 9 Skywalker Saga films will actually be on Disney Plus, so I figured that it was a good time to go ahead and do a countdown kind of like this. Also, if you are new here, I do want to remind you there is still time left to enter to win the giveaway for a $25 Amazon gift card giveaway. All you have to do is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. It's as simple as that. All right. Plus, I'd love to hear from you anyway and what you think, what you agree with or disagree with from this particular list. So I want to start things off with number 1, the film that actually makes the most sense according to its title, and it's none other than Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. I feel like this is a title that perfectly encapsulates what this film is all about. It's really Palpatine's ultimate revenge. It's the culmination of the first trilogy of a 3-film arc on how this hidden Sith Lord finally takes his revenge. His well-laid plans over the course of 3 movies and many, many years finally comes to fruition. He has his ultimate revenge, and that's exactly what he gets. It might have been a little different if he almost got it and then failed, but he completely succeeded in epic fashion, and I feel like that's exactly what this one was all about. So Revenge of the Sith was kind of an easy win for me to be first place. Up next with second place is The Last Jedi. Also a pretty self-explanatory title here. It's really talking about Rey. It's really talking about Luke, who, and the name, it transposes itself a little bit because you think for the most part it's talking about Luke Skywalker as The Last Jedi. And then towards the end of the film, that title kind of changes over to Rey. And but really, that's what it's all about. It's pretty self-explanatory. There's a little bit more nuance to it because of the fact that at some point it might mean one character and at another point it might mean another character. But there's also that little hint of, wait a second though, wasn't Leia also trained? Well, didn't she also have Jedi training? So, she was still alive the whole time too. So a little bit of obscurity there. Number 3, A New Hope. Pretty clear cut. It's, the idea is that Luke Skywalker is the new hope for everything that's going on for the bigger picture. Although if this is the first Star Wars film you ever saw, that might be a little unclear as to what was he such a new hope for. Did he get just one great lucky shot? Was that it? Or was this part of a larger storyline? Most of us, when we saw this, we knew that there was a whole lot more going on. Also, though, this one lost a few points in my rankings just because it wasn't originally called A New Hope. It was originally just called Star Wars. And so, it didn't originally have that Episode 4, A New Hope. That was added much, much later. So it wasn't always called A New Hope. So they kind of cheated with this one a little bit because it's kind of like they went back and said, oh, hey, by the way, this one should have been named this. And I'm like, okay. You kind of lost a few points in my book on that part because you kind of cheated a little bit, but that's okay. We're all allowed to cheat. This is just for fun. All right. Next up, number 4, The Empire Strikes Back. Well, this one is pretty clear cut and dry. It's very much a win for the Empire in this movie, and so that much is mostly clear. But the title is primarily, in my opinion, focusing on that initial Battle of Hoth, where the Empire has gotten this great military win that you don't often see in movies, where the bad guys actually get a good strategic, decisive victory, crushing the rebel base. The rebels manage to escape, but they lose their whole base and a lot of stuff and a lot of their people and all of that in the process. So a huge, decisive military victory. But that's just the first act of the movie. So all the rest of it, is kind of a bunch of hit and misses because there are some victories for the good guys, small victories. Han and Leia kind of find each other, and Luke finally finds Yoda. Luke doesn't die. Luke finds Yoda, and there's a little, and Luke manages to survive at the very, very end, and it looks like it's a little bit hopeful towards the end. So it's not like the Empire is just kicking butt the entire movie, but the Empire has a lot of wins throughout the entire movie. But most of it is in the first act. So Empire Strikes Back does pretty well in my book for that. We're getting into the middle of the list right here, so I want to throw out number 5 with The Force Awakens, kind of in the middle of the pack. This one's a little obscure, but in the grander scheme of things, okay, I get it. I think we were initially meant to think The Force Awakens was something that was going to happen with Finn. Like when this trailer first started, we thought, oh, Finn's going to be the main character. He's got a lightsaber in the poster. He's also the first character we see. So there's a little bit of misleadingness. And oh, little Lando here is going to come and join in, and he wants to get in on the video. So you want to say hi? Hi. Okay. All right. Go back and finish watching TV, buddy. I'm making a video right here. We're going to leave that in because he's super cute. All right. Anyway. But yeah, so The Force Awakens, they talked a little bit in the dialogue of this movie too. It's like, there has been an awakening. Have you felt it? And I'm like, really? Because if they hadn't said that, the movie title might not have made as much sense. But then, like, after watching the whole thing, it makes a little more sense because it's kind of like a rebirth of like things were kind of quiet, you know. But at the same point, it's like, well, the Force really wasn't asleep. It was just dormant in Rey, right? So, you know, I guess so. It's kind of like, that's why this one's like right in the middle, because, you know, it's a little bit of a reach, but it still makes sense. It's not like blatantly misleading. And it's kind of the same thing in our next one, Return of the Jedi at number 6. Iconically, also episode 6. But Return of the Jedi certainly has a little bit of misleading stuff, because like he's not a full Jedi yet when he kind of returns in this movie, right? Like he talks to Yoda and he's like, no, you're not a Jedi yet, you know. So he's not, but then like by the end of the movie, he kind of is. But it's like, I think of maybe this is just me being perfectly literal here, but like you thinking, okay, Luke is going to like walk up and I'm like, I am a Jedi and I'm back to kick some butt. But it turns out like the whole time it's like Vader who is actually like the Jedi who kind of get like how Anakin kind of returns at the end. So it's like, wait, who's really the Jedi that it's the return of, right? Or is it the return of the Jedi Order? Like Luke will pass on what he has learned. Like it could be 3 different things. So it's a little unclear. I mean, but either one of those is good, but it's a little unclear, right? So it's okay. It's okay. All right, but that one's still all right. Love that movie too. I think that was actually the first Star Wars movie I can remember seeing, so it holds a special place in my heart. All right, now we are going into the bottom 3, and it takes a little bit of a dive right here. So, Rise of Skywalker. Rise of Skywalker. This one I did not like the title for, because after seeing the movie, I'm like, well, I don't see how that was about the Rise of Skywalker at all. First off, there was going into the Rise of Skywalker, I think there was a lot of things you were thinking. I was like, well, this could mean, like, I had a couple of different things. Like, it could be that Luke just like returns from the dead and is like zombie Luke walking around, or you know, or like Jesus Luke or something like that, right? That did not happen. We got a Force ghost of Luke, but it wasn't the rise of Luke Skywalker. Maybe it's maybe Luke had kids and it's the rise of the Skywalker like clan. No, that didn't happen. Oh, I know. Ben Solo, who's like the last of the Skywalker lineage, is going to come back and be like the hero moving forward. Not exactly, right? Not exactly. I mean, there was like, you know, there was a redemption there, but I don't know if I would call that a rise, right? And so like at the very, very, very end of the film, like maybe they just had Rey choose the surname Skywalker. She just chose that name because she didn't want to be a Palpatine anymore. And so it's like, all right, so if they hadn't chosen that name, if she had just decided to just be Rey, is that it? Is the Rise of Skywalker Rey choosing a different last name? Because that doesn't also sound like a rise to me. It seems like she was, when she decides to be Skywalker, she's done, right? Like it would be different if I had always thought it was going to end with her like training a whole new line of not quite Jedi, because we've learned like the Jedi had their flaws, so a new like line of Force users that would be like the Skywalker clan or something like that. But that had nothing to do with this movie. So to me, like the title Rise of Skywalker really has nothing at all to do with the film. I mean, there's some loose connections. It could be about like all 3 of those things, like Luke coming back as a Force ghost, Ben, you know, coming back to the light, and then Rey choosing like the Skywalker path over the Palpatine path. Like it could be any one of those 3 or a combination of all 3, but I just don't see Rise of Skywalker really fitting in with what happens in the film. All right, so number 8, The Phantom Menace. While the first 20 minutes of this film is some of the greatest Star Wars that I can remember, especially sitting in the theater and watching this for the first time, that first 20 minutes, Oh man, that was some epic stuff. Liam Neeson just being a total boss in this movie. But I digress. We're talking about how the name matches up to everything. This is one that has annoyed me for so long because thinking with a Phantom Menace, oh, there's gonna be like a ghost. There's gonna be a ghost in this movie that's spooking everybody, and Liam Neeson's like, "Stay back, ghost. I have a lightsaber and it will cut you." And Obi-Wan's gonna be like, "You're a ghost. Ugh. Hello there, ghost." Something like that. I don't know. Obi-Wan's Scottish now. "Oh, that's right. I'm from Clan Kenobi, from the Highlands of Tatooine." All right. Anyway, no. My point is, I feel like the title has nothing to do with the movie. All right. When you saw like the previews and everything, and you're like, "Oh, who's this Darth Maul guy? He looks cool. Is he the Phantom Menace?" Certainly kind of implied by the movie poster, right? Because you've got that in there. But if you ask other people, they're like, "Oh wait, no. It's Sidious. It's Palpatine pulling the strings. He's the Phantom Menace." The movie's not even about Sidious at all. He's in like 2 short scenes, well 3 maybe short scenes. He's a footnote in this movie. You can't name the whole movie after somebody who's got like 12 seconds of screen time. It's just it's ludicrous. So I don't concede that that's sufficient. So this one ranks really low on my list for that. My theory is that it was actually alluding a little bit more to Jar Jar. If you look at some of the older ideas that Jar Jar was eventually going to go on and become like the super secret bad, like an opposite of Yoda. That he would reveal himself to actually be like a dark side user in episode 2, and he was going to be the guy that they fought instead of Dooku, and then based on fan backlash, they changed the storyline because of that. If that all works, then Phantom Menace might have made more sense. But as it stands right now, I think it's a terrible name. It doesn't have anything to do with the movie. I think it should have been like The Birth of a Legend or The Saga Begins. Like Weird Al had a better name than Lucas did, I think, for this particular title. All right. And the worst one in last place, also possibly my least favorite of all the Star Wars films, Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Primarily because this one's a straight up lie. The clones do not attack. The clones, like we never understood before the prequels came out, right? Like some of you guys who are younger grew up with the prequels, probably didn't experience this problem, but thinking about the Clone Wars, right? The first thing we ever heard about the Clone Wars is Leia in episode 4. Like, years ago, you served my father in the Clone Wars. And we're like, oh, what were the Clone Wars? Oh, was it like some doppelganger thing? I was like, the president has suddenly changed and he's issuing orders for everybody to start eating broccoli at noon. Oh, it turns out the president was a clone. Oh, who's really, like kind of like a Secret War Skrull invasion, something like that, right? So something kind of like that is kind of what people thought. It's like, are you real or are you a clone? And we're going to have a war over it, right? But so then when this comes out, it's like, oh, there's going to be clones that attack. And that's who the Jedi are going to be fighting against. So like everything about like when this was first announced, like the title and everything makes it seem like the clones are coming to get us. And we need Obi-Wan and Anakin to defend us from the clones, right? When it's the exact opposite. The clones don't attack at all. They are, really, and they're barely in this movie. They're only at the very, very end. We actually see them in combat, but they're used defensively. And it's just, it has nothing to do. Attack of the Clones, I think, is just the worst title because it really has nothing to do with the movie. And this one is, in addition to just being way out there, and you can kind of grasp, and you're like, well, there is a battle involving clones. Okay, great, but nobody would call it Attack of the Clones. But it's deliberately misleading, I think, because it makes the clones out to be the bad guy. When you say attack of, you're like, oh, somebody's coming to attack me. It kind of puts you on there like you're being attacked, or you as the good guy force is being attacked. Like it sets up the clones to be the aggressors. And granted, now knowing what we know now, and after watching like the Clone Wars and kind of doing deep dives into it, you can probably do a deep dive and kind of put the clones as the bad guys, and good and bad, and argue politics about it. That clearly wasn't the case here, right? They wanted the title to be misleading. So like, oh, Attack of the Clones. I guess these clones are going to be bad guys. And then when you're in there, like, oh, it turns out they're the good guys. Mind blown. And everybody has a great day. Okay, good. Like, I enjoyed this movie when I was in the theater, just like every other Star Wars movie. Even my least favorite Star Wars movie, I'm able to sit down and enjoy. So it's not like a movie was terrible. from a certain point of view, but I do think that that title was terribly misleading. All right, guys. Well, that's all I've got. Let me know what you agree with, what you disagree with. What would your ranking be? What do you think maybe I was most right about or most wrong about? All right, guys. That's all I've got for you today. I want to thank you all so much for watching. And as always, have a great day.